Mark Samuel, thank you for joining me.
It's my pleasure.
Mark, could you walk me through the journey that you had from a fitness enthusiast to founding your snack company? Well, what sparked that transition?
From living a fitness lifestyle, is that what you mean?
Yeah, like just how the company got started.
Yeah, it started because it's what I know. I mean, I've always started my own thing for the last 22, 23 years. I've been in different ventures that I have started with some sort of idea or service to offer. And the last few ventures that I have started were in health and wellness. I'm a big health and wellness enthusiast. I love the gym. I love eating well. I love talking about nutrition and all the fun stuff around that. So after we were what I'd consider ready to move on from the last venture, which was in a consumer good that was basically around travel bags for fitness enthusiasts. I wanted to get into something that had more of a recurring model as far as financially. I thought food and beverage was a fantastic space. Little did I know of how difficult it is. But that's how it started. And so I had an idea of filling a void, which I thought would make sense in a protein category. Had to do with legumes, organic, savory, those sort of things. And I put that together and started IWON Organics.
Mm-hmm. So your focus is on plant-based protein snacks. What led you to choose snacks direction over, say, other protein sources?
Yeah, I just thought there was a void at that time. It was 8 or 9 years ago now, which is wild to say. I thought there was a void in savory protein snacks. There were bars that had been around for quite some time, always a sweet-esque centric thing associated with them. And there was really nothing, in my opinion, that was in the savory categories that had to do with taste and texture that were more related to chips. And I thought that could be a really great opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed that you use pea protein in the products. What led to that choice?
Yeah, I wanted to go legumes. Again, it was one of those things that I was looking around landscape wise. I thought number one, organic foods were going to be something that would be more desirable over time, especially here. I'm on the West Coast, California. Two was legumes. I thought peas being a sustainable crop, being higher in protein, having fiber, I thought that could be a really great opportunity to position the brand a certain way and different than what others may have gone towards, especially with the likes of whey being around for quite some time. So that was really the decision.
Mm-hmm. Mark, you said just a couple of minutes ago you found out that the food and beverage is actually not that easy. Well, what have you learned? What was surprising to you?
Oh, it's countless. There are so many things that I've learned over the 8 years. I would say more so than any other category that I have been in, because again, I've been in some service-related businesses and some other consumer goods related businesses, but food and beverage and everything that it encompasses with regards to distribution and how that works, or with regards to product and innovation and manufacturing, financial aspects that basically cover all of that. It's just a completely different animal than I had ever been a part of. I jokingly say what I did. I just have learned so much, and I'm grateful for it. So through all the small wins, but many losses over the years, there's a lot of things that I know and that I can take with me into the future. And so I'm very optimistic about that.
Yeah, as entrepreneurs, I feel like sometimes we learn more from failures than successes as well, because sometimes you never know. Success could happen due to luck, and you just think that you're a genius, but you're just at the right time doing the right thing. You mentioned the importance of balanced nutrition. Could you elaborate on how you approach nutritional profiles in the snacks?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in moderation and or balance when it comes to foods and how we have a healthy relationship with foods. I talk about an 80-20 rule. That means 80% of the times eating whole whole foods being nutrient dense whole foods, single ingredient items. For me, higher in protein, so meats being a big portion of that, and then fruits and vegetables, and then some complex carbohydrates like rice being a single ingredient item. I'm a big proponent of that. I think that is how you learn how to eat. I think that's how you have the best relationships with food, is how I always describe it. And so that there's not so much angst when it comes to mealtime and or snacking time, which a lot of us have sort of incorporated into our life and our lifestyle, and creating all the obstacles that we see out there, and that we can prove through data. So the other 20% can be indulgent stuff. I don't call it cheat foods or cheat meals like many do. I just call it the other 20%. And so if somebody likes pizzas and they like the candy bars, or they like to have ice cream and the like I say, go for it. I always just say, just make sure it's in moderation. And that, it's not a whole pizza pie, it's a slice or two. It's not, in a gallon of ice cream, it's a half a pint. And so once people can understand how to implement that and institute that into their life, it becomes a lifestyle. And that's a lot easier to lean into and to follow than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Mark, many health-focused snacks struggle with flavor. How does IWON approach the taste development to ensure that your snacks are both nutritious and delicious?
Yeah, that was sort of luck, I guess. I again, getting into food, I learned what manufacturing looked like. I understood the components that needed to be applied to make a finished product. I got inside of these buildings to understand it. The flavor component is, there's so many ways to flavor products today. In our case, it's a topical, it's seasoning house, and they make these amazing flavors, all types of flavors, things that go above and beyond the stuff that we do. And so you can imagine, talking about savory snacks out the gate, I went with what I know consumers know. So it's barbecue, or it's sour cream, and it's salt and vinegar. It's you deal with what people know, because that's where you're probably going to have success. And so I was very lucky to find a really great flavor house. I've been working with them actually probably since the beginning. And so it just becomes one of those things that you fundamentally are learning, like every other process in the business, and understanding how these seasonings are put together.
Mm-hmm. Mark, right before our call, I was checking out the Amazon reviews, and some of the products, all of them have great reviews. And I noticed maybe the spicier ones, like the barbecue, and they have more reviews than others. I guess, now that made me curious about the product development process. Like, how do you decide which new flavors to pursue? Like, how do you what have you learned? Like, what kind of flavors will become more popular?
There's actually data that you could pull up when it comes to that category, right? So if you go into chips and or puffs, and any extrusions or bake, frying and the like, that comes within that salty snack section in your grocery store, there's a reason why you're seeing mostly the same types of flavors. Mm-hmm. Every once in a while you get something really unique. That's really more for brand and to offer something innovative to the customer base. Create excitement, create a little bit of trial. Let me try that. And if it's good, you can get them to cross over into your core products. So it really was about looking at just the data sets and going, okay, people like barbecue. Okay, that's going to happen. All right, people like cheddar when it comes to a puffed product. That's literally the number one selling item across every brand. You just have to go with it. Every so often, a brand is made or created off the back of something totally unique. It could be a unique flavor system of sorts, and there is a way to do that. But that has to be like the ethos of the brand. It's like, I'm going to sit in. I like to use like a sriracha, right? Like, that's the product. That's it. That's what we do. And in our category, it's not something that I was really positioned to do. It was more like, here, we're going to offer what people like, what people buy, and let's see if they enjoy our brand and our product offering. to create some success around.
Mark, do I remember seeing protein popcorn in your product line?
We did do we were in and out with that one. We did that across a couple different product lines that we launched, and we decided to discontinue it. And it was a great product. It was a great product. There came a time in our evolution where we had done stuff mainly from me as far as innovation and really wanting to get some stuff out there. We just could not support those new lines, because what I learned among the other 1,000 things is you need capital to be deployed to build the business. And you can't have multiple things moving at one time and not create more frustration internally with the capital piece. And so it just didn't work. We had to make decisions. Which products are we going to focus on? Which ones are we going to really get behind with the limited resources of capital? And that meant that we had to discontinue products like that, even though we had great reviews out the beginning, and I still think it's a winner.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned capital. I remember seeing some press releases about fundraising for IWON, several of them. It made me think, I'm a tech entrepreneur, so VC fundraising in our world is, mostly a given, even though there's always that bootstrapping versus VC money debate that's going on. Well, and especially in the DTC world, a lot of people are against taking, investor money for DTC brands. And what's your view on this debate?
My view has probably changed a couple times over these 8 years. I'm in a position now where I truly do believe you need capital and a really good amount of it for this to work. It's not to say that in the beginning, in order to mitigate some risk, depending on who you are, what knowledge you have, what experience, what's the product, where are you making it? Like, there's multiple facets to where the question and answer goes. But there's a way for you to have limited budget just to see in the early phases if there's something there. I still think you need to be seasoned in some way, or at least get experience from somebody else that you trust that can help in the beginning to make sure you understand what that means. Like, what does it mean to create just a limited amount and get real feedback? Like, where are you getting feedback? Is there really a market fit? Is the price right? Can you manufacture this at scale? There's all of these little pieces that need to be, sort of dove into. Now, after that, what we all need to recognize that if you want to scale the brand, which a majority of us, if we're honest, want to do. So it's like if you're in tech, you're not just there at night, digging into creating the app, and writing code till your fingers fall off because you just want to get it into 1,000 people. No, you're trying to create something in masses, right? So that there is a tangible value to the asset. That's how I look at things. It's like tangible value to the application that you're developing, where somebody later on thinks that there's a value to that asset that means they're going to trade money for it. Same thing as if you're building a brand, a product that's offered in grocery stores. You're building it to scale so that you can prove to somebody else, a buyer, that there is value in this asset, basically the trademark, the brand, and the products that are within it, right? That people want this, and they want it at scale. So what's the answer, and how do you get to that place? A lot of capital. Unfortunately, I don't really know how to decide what it's supposed to be. You need a lot of capital in this business to scale. And it just is, it's really that simple. And then I'll leave you with, and it's a lot more than you think. So when somebody puts together the pro forma, they got all these beautiful projections, and it's more than you think. And that's my answer to your question.
Yeah, in the tech world, it's the same thing. You think that you're going to raise some money and then you're going to hit your milestones. It always takes longer. You always need more money. And the thing that you think was going to work doesn't work, so you have to try another thing for another 6 months, and now you have to raise more. So that would be my always advice to entrepreneurs as well. Just raise more than you need because it's going to run out. So, I mean, let's lead into competition. A lot of capital is needed. A lot of snack brands out there, even though I don't really know if protein snacks is like a really very competitive category. Do you think about competition, or do you feel like just positioning as protein puffs or protein snacks is kind of enough of a differentiator?
I'm somebody who's kind of in with the blinders as far as I want to develop a product into our brand around something that I believe in. That way I can really get behind it, right? Because you need so much energy in this, in building anything. You need energy. And you need that energy to last. And I don't mean 3 weeks, and I don't mean 3 months, and I don't even mean 3 years. A long time. So you got to have something that you're passionate about. And that really can't come from others. That has to be you. Why do I want to build this? Why did I choose these things that have to do with the brand and or products? So I can tell the story over and over and over again. That not just to the consumers, to your team that you're building, to manufacturers that you're selling to raw ingredient vendors, everybody. And so with that said, you need to almost stay with the blinders. Now I will say this. It's very, very important to know what's going on around you. So you got to have the blinders, but you have one little eye poking out every so often, because it would not be in your best interest to not understand what's going on in the space. And it's not to say that you aren't looking at the competitor for one reason or another. It's just to recognize, what are they doing? How are they doing it? What products are they launching? Why are they launching it? What's their price point? What does it look like when it's sitting next to me on shelf? What do their Amazon reviews say? Who's their customer? I mean, I could go on and on. So I would say 95% of the time, stay focused. 5% of the time, you need to know what's going on around you. It is important as you're building.
I wanted to ask you about your retail strategy. Congratulations, by the way, on your Whole Foods Supplier Award. That's quite an achievement. Could you share how you initially secured placement in major retailers like Whole Foods and I think Thrive Market and a few others?
I'll give just the most recent. We had got that. We received that Whole Foods Award for one of the regions when we had first launched. So that was when we had first launched into Whole Foods. We got one region. We actually got it because we had done a pitch slam that they were developing. I think it was 5 or 6 years ago. So we were right place, right time, right product, right fit, right everything. And what you need luck, timing, and the like. And so we did what I guess they considered fairly well that first, I want to say maybe 6, 8, 9 months. And we did. We received the regional award, which was amazing. I was shocked when I had received the email. I'm going to speed up now. We did just receive national rollout though. So we went from 1 region to 2, from 2 to 5 regions. That was last year, basically 18 months ago. And then this last reset, we did get confirmation that we were going to get the national rollout. So that's all 510 plus stores, which is amazing. But for context, that took 5 years, meaning we got denied what we call global rollout for 5 straight years.
What changed?
And admittingly, it's like, I know people, like I'm in the space. I feel like people want to hook me up, and but you got to be deserving of it. I think the timing for us is both good and bad. We're still, which I talk openly about, we're still very, very much capital constrained. We have been for what I'd consider far too long. It makes it difficult to continue day to day. So I admittingly also, I don't know what's going to happen, with us, just long, basically short and long term. But at least I can sort of pause around the story and based on the question, which is like, how do you do it? Well, you need to be patient. You need to develop a pretty good product. You need to stay in the game. That's a hard one. And then you need to just have all those things fall into place. A little bit of luck and timing is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And for us, we do get one shot at this. And again, I hope that we can somehow survive it so that we can see what is the result of it.
Mm-hmm. What you mentioned, you need to stay in the game. That's a hard one. You know, there's a saying for entrepreneurs, just don't die. Just keep going. You survive. Don't run out of money. And one of these days, sometimes a lucky thing happens and it just changes the trajectory. But if you do die, you don't get to see that moment. So that's an interesting and very difficult thing to do as a founder.
One thing, just one comment on that. One thing, though, that I've recognized now in all the years that I've been doing this and things prior is sometimes it's time to die. And this the language we use commonly, multiple, you know, there's phrases we all like to use, but like the don't die, or just make sure you have enough, or keep going, you know, it's right around the corner. The right around the corner or just keep going is more about you might need to lay that thing down to die, but just keep going. And I think that there's a lot of success, a lot of which we don't talk about today in the way that we should, that comes from doing that. I think the most successful entrepreneurs, like I don't use that word, like when somebody asks me, I'm like, I don't know, I do a bunch of things, I've done things, and you know, I think the most successful folks in the world are the ones that recognize when it's time to move on. Because one thing I talk openly about too is like regret. And wouldn't you regret the fact that you stayed in something maybe 5 years too long, could be 10 years, could be, but there comes an actual time frame where it is too long. And you may be sitting there, I don't like to say on the deathbed per se, but you know, in your later years when you look back and go, man, I should have cut that a long time ago. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. So there's some comments off of that original question.
So for the folks who are listening or watching, this actually is a very interesting entrepreneurial debate. A lot of people really value perseverance in entrepreneurship. World Championship poker player Annie Duke has a book called Quit. So in the book, basically she talks about quitting is actually a good thing, but there's a big stigma around it where, you know, perseverance, where you keep working on the things that's just not going to go anywhere. And because people have been told to persevere and just keep going, they keep working on a thing that's not going to get big, or it's just, or they've just put so much into it, they feel like, you know, it's just going to be lost, all of that investment and the capital and the effort, and they just keep going and going, you know. But it requires a very sophisticated mindset to be able to quit after putting years into something, thinking that, do I want to put my next 3-4 years persevering on this thing, or could I be doing something more impactful, starting from scratch? Very easy to talk about this, very hard to do, you know, especially as an entrepreneur.
The latter is what people need to come to Jesus with, right?
Yeah.
And it's very difficult, and it could be for 30 reasons. One of them is a lot of times it's ego. Like they think that I'm going to lose, I can't lose. But they need to shift that mentality. You're winning by moving on to what should be a winner, right? And it's only until you get there and maybe create success in the next move where you could look back and go, well, of course I made that decision. That's me. Now that's one that many have as far as difficult. The two is, and 5 and 6 and 9 and 12 is there's an emotional piece to it. Some of it which is very personal, like the cap table piece. I know that's what's held hard for me. Is you've raised capital. A lot of the times it's not from venture or whatever. Maybe it could be friends and family. And that is very difficult to part with. very difficult, especially for those that truly are built a certain way. Some could be like, oh, it was Uncle Jack. Uncle Jack gave me 100. He's good with it. You know, I'm going on to my next thing. But a lot of us are not built like that. You know, we look at Uncle Jack's money like it's ours, and we're sad. And again, it's one of these topics. It's not talked about enough. It should be. It happens every single day. And it could be really expanded upon. I mean, so again, it's a good topic that you brought up.
Yeah. Mark, one thing I noticed when I was checking your website is buy on Amazon is the main call to action. And I realized, oh, is it not possible to buy this on the website? But it is. It's just at the bottom. You have to kind of look for it. So you're driving people directly to Amazon. I was curious about the rationale behind that decision.
We fulfill from Amazon anyway. So even if you thought you were buying from our website, it actually gets fulfilled from Amazon.
Okay.
We turned off our site in that way because we just wanted to push everything to Amazon for the short term. There's 12 reasons why. The main one being that it's just easier for us right now so that we don't have to have the upkeep of the homepage, which would be adding all the correct flavors, adding in a new product that we were not going to put money into that. Instead now, since we have our Amazon shop that does that, which is we've always kept that updated, we just throw everybody that way.
Mm-hmm. Mark, what's been your most successful marketing approach?
What's been our most successful marketing approach?
Yeah, like with channels or strategies.
It's a good. Early on, it was what I would consider demoing. The trial piece, I call it trial. How do you get people to try your product to know if it's something that they would enjoy, and most importantly, is it something that they would purchase again? Early on, when we had a little bit of capital and we were able to deploy in areas that really benefited us, it was standing at Whole Foods, specifically when we were in that original region, and standing there with the table and saying, you got to try these puffs. And people, we saw it. It was like, our purchase rate was extremely high. And we saw what that looked like post those demos as well, because that's the most important, is does it sustain? Because of course, especially me, I could sell you 19 cases right now, right? Because I'm standing in front of you and, I'm handsome and, no, I'm just kidding. And so you get it. And so it's when you leave and does that customer come back the week later to buy 2 more bags of caramelized onion puffs for her family? And so you can see those trends, and they were happening. So I would say demoing. I'd say any people know this. Any promotional trade that you're working as far as promotion on a quarterly basis in a retailer, oftentimes you should see lift there. That's where you're going to get the biggest bang. We never capitalized enough to do big, what I'd consider influencer projects. We always had what I'd consider micro influencers across the board, but like something to really tackle a project with real capital behind it so that you could see the effect maybe just online in some way, and or particular to a region that somebody could be talking about, so that you could see, oh, is that region seeing a benefit of some sort? Is that particular retailer in that region seeing a benefit? We were never really able to attack stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned micro influencers. How do you approach those, or do you intentionally, have a strategy to pick them? How do you choose them? What kind of results do you look for? I guess it's kind of hard to measure if you're trying to measure it on a regional basis.
Yeah, I've been doing that I was doing that prior to this. Because the previous brand and products were in health and wellness too, which is really where social started when it came to influencer, specific to items that we were selling. Those that are in the health and wellness, you see it when they're at the gym and they're doing, which by the way I do, or eating well, like a lot of anything that has to do with foods, right? It's a big social shareable content, and so I was always able to have somebody in and on the team that worked specifically on that. And me, a micro influencer, which is different than what most people do, is I really like folks that have like 1,000 followers on Instagram,
Nano
5,000
influencer
followers.
almost. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, but number one is it's because once you go above a specific number, the request and demand for payment is a lot different, which rightfully so is fine. However, a lot of people miss the fact that micro influencers have a real following, one that's engaged with that person just as much as somebody who may have 3 or 4 times the amount of followers. And so I've always been big on that. We used to build big teams. I had 300 or 400 influencers at a time in our pipeline. And I
For
always
IWON or for the other?
for both.
Yeah.
For both. Even prior to that, I mean, there was a brand even prior to this last one when that was really starting. And so I'm a believer in it. I still am a believer in it. I think that you can do a lot of really great creative things around that and around the social components, especially today with new platforms like TikTok that are showcasing what can be done and translate into sales. So that's my take on that.
Have you tried the TikTok shop?
We didn't, and we have not yet for this brand because we are not prepared to do so financially.
Gotcha.
I know plenty around it though, and I would look forward to the opportunity to be able to deploy it on something that I may be working on or potentially move to work on next.
Mm-hmm. Mark, final question: top 2 problems giving you a headache right now, and top 2 priorities for the year.
Top 2 problems giving me a headache right now. I am working on something right now that it can cover both of them. It goes back to things that I've been very transparent about even through this. We're in a tough spot here with IWON. So that gives me enough headaches to cover 2, 3, 5, and 9. We've been undercapitalized for so long. It becomes the layer of problems just develop further and further. It compounds, and the weight of it is so heavy now that I am for the first time truly concerned with what happens next. So that's my answer for that. What was the second one? Was what am I excited about?
Top 2 priorities for the year. Yeah.
Priorities. My priorities are to get myself out of that thing and into something so that I can, as I described before, move on. Move on, meaning it doesn't matter if it's this or something, but just move on because I've got too much to do. I think I've got too much to do here with my life. When it comes to building something. Now I'm talking just business for a second. And so I'm excited about what's to come. There's my answer there. The second thing is sports is starting and school's starting for the kids. And I'm excited about that because that means we've got a couple leagues that are going to be starting here. And I participate in these coaching and stuff. And I love it. I love it. It's part of my being, and I enjoy doing that. So there's my second answer to that one.
Mark Samuel, thank you for sharing your journey with me.
My pleasure.